Like a high percentage of the people who are in the music business in Nashville, I was not born here, but I came here because Nashville is very special. I was born in New York in 1945, but I've been in Nashville since the beginning of 1969. I was originally born in New York, and when I was 8 years old, the family moved to Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. When I was in 9th grade, the family moved to suburban Chicago. I went to the University of Chicago, majoring in animal behavior studies, and part of a residual of that is I have 25 snakes in my office and 1 tortoise, as well as 1 cat that's up here. I know the snakes about as well as I know the guitars. But Hank Williams Jr. actually is the one who persuaded me to move to Nashville, because when I was in college I started collecting guitars. I did graduate work in zoology at Duke, and I had more and more guitars. It finally got to the point where my hobby took over, and I decided that I was doing more and more guitars and less of my academic studies. But I sold several guitars to Hank Williams Jr. in 1968. I was doing graduate work at that time, and he came and drove to see me. Came in a Jaguar, and that didn't hold a lot of guitars. It held like 3 guitars. And he said I could be back tomorrow in a bigger car. And he came back the next day in a Cadillac Eldorado. It held more guitars, but he said, you know, Nashville doesn't have anybody like you. We could, it would be great if you moved to Nashville. I could help you start a music store. And I wasn't ready, but a few months later, I felt ready. So I called him, and he had an apartment waiting for me. And he never did help me start a music store, but sometimes the quickest way to lose friends is either borrow money from them, loan money to them, or go into business with them. And in this case, his personality and mine would not have worked well as business partners, but because we didn't go into business together, we're still friends. But Nashville is special. There's a very, very active and very creative music scene here. There's a lot of music business, music distribution, music artist management, but also there's the Opry, and there's lots of clubs, lots of informal jam sessions all the time at musicians' homes, something the public doesn't necessarily get to see. There's also a lot of recording studios. But one of the things that made Nashville Music City, USA, is bands could be based here. And it was a great base of operations if you want to work playing on the road. You can drive north, south, east, west, or any direction, and it's occupied land with paying music gigs. It's different here. Even in New York or in LA, there's music scene, but it's spread out, it's congested, it's hard to get around, and there's actually less music opportunities and less diversity of music in New York City and Manhattan than there is here. Because we have classical, we have a pretty good symphony, we have jazz, we have bluegrass, we have traditional country, we have an active blues scene. Jimi Hendrix used to play a lot in Nashville. So it's all kinds of music that are going on. And for me, as a guitar dealer, and my mother said I shouldn't put all my money in guitars, I need diversified investments. So I told her not to worry. I don't put it all in guitars. I have banjos and mandolins too. But the point is, there's a lot of different kinds of music here. It's a very active scene, and Belmont University, which is only about 1 mile from here, has one of the best music business departments in the world. And Vanderbilt University has a good music department. There's just all kinds of things going on. But Nashville is a remarkably cosmopolitan city. When I moved here, it was much more of a southern town. Now it's much more of a cosmopolitan town. But it is special. There's no place else on earth like it.
Can you mention just maybe one song or more than one?
Bob Dylan's Nashville Skyline Rag. Why don't we use that one? And my friend Norman Blake is the one who played the instrumental for that one. And that was recorded back in the 70s, but still, it captures some of Nashville. But I do a lot of business with Nashville musicians. I've known Marty Stewart since he was 11 years old. I've known Vince Gill since he was 18. Same for Ricky Skaggs. He was 18 when I first met him. So a lot of these are my customers, but they're also my friends. And that's one of the things that's special. And of course, Ricky Skaggs wrote Highway 40 Blues. That's because Highway 40 goes right through Nashville. A lot of his road gigs, you get on I-40 to go either east or west.
Hi, I'm Andy Reiss. I'm a guitar player in Nashville, Tennessee. The question is, what does Nashville mean to me? What I love about Nashville is the community of musicians here, getting to play with great guys like in this band, the Time Jumpers. And for a song that represents Nashville, I'm going to go with Lacey J. Dalton, God Bless the Boys Who Make the Noise on 21st Avenue.
All right, hi, I'm Mike Voltz, and the question has been posed to me, what does Nashville mean to me? And I could go on for a long time, and I probably will. Beth and I moved here in '79. I had gone to Lutheran school, Roberto Venn's School of Lutheran. It was marvelous. And the owner of the school pulled me aside and said, George Gruhn needs someone, you should go. So I was like, well, off we go. And I was so nervous at George's. I sort of politely said thank you, but I'm gonna pass for now. And then we came back and we knew Nashville was magic. And we actually went back to Buffalo, where we're from, spent a couple weeks, caught up with the family, and then moved here, just on a lark. And I ended up working for Showbud, Shot Jackson, for a year, and it was just marvelous. Oh, it was great. I learned so much. That was a long time ago in Nashville. It was Broadway in '79 was a different place. And I met so many marvelous country musicians, and I didn't know country music. I'm an old folkie. And at one point, I had the opportunity to go see Chet Atkins play, and I'd never really heard Chet a lot. But we went backstage at the Opry, and when Chet came on, I had Beth. I said, Beth, I gotta run up front. I said, because I know the sound is better up front. And I ran out there, and I couldn't believe what I heard. You know, I didn't know a guitar could be that. I was so shocked. And I ran back. You could tell he was wrapping it up. So I ran back, and I grabbed Beth, and I said, all right, we gotta stand right here. I said, when he walks off stage, there's two exits. I said, he seems very logical, and this is the one he'll probably pick. I said, I want to meet him. And he walked right by, and I couldn't open my mouth. I was so, and I've never been that way with anyone. Beth poked me in the ribs, and I just couldn't open my mouth. And that was my first experience with Chet. he ended up being like a father to me. We got to be very close. I worked on his guitars. I ran the 𝐤et line at Gibson. And I have a guitar here that he played in his later years, kept next to his desk. And he didn't know I made it. And one day when I stopped by, I'd given him a couple guitars. He had had some medical issues, and I didn't know what to do for him, so I gave him 2 little bitty parlors, because they were small and light, and one had wild electronics in it. And then he called me for lunch one day, and he says, Mike, he says, let's go to lunch. So we did. That meant I would be driving him. And he said, the 2 little guitars. I said, yeah. That one with the scallop frets. I said, yeah. He said, I don't think much of it. I was like, what? I said, well, give it back. and then he said, the other one. Oh, I got lightheaded. I thought, oh, what's he gonna say? And then I got really mad, so I thought, you better not say anything mean. But he looked at me, he says, it's the finest steel string I've ever played. I was like, oh. I said, well, you can hang on to that one. And then he asked what it was. So that made my day. It made more than my day. I'm still talking about it. And that guitar has been on the road with everybody. You know, if anyone ever needed a guitar, we'd just send it out. It's been a lot of places, played a lot of wonderful music, and I've gotten to know a lot of wonderful people, you know, through that guitar and through Chet Atkins and everybody. And then being at Gibson, I was at Gibson for 36 years. I was with 𝐻𝐡 for a year. Then I was with George Gruhn for about 4 years. And Roberto Van, I learned how to build the guitar, how to bend and how to do things. But when I was with George, that's when I really learned guitar. Because back then, it was way before internet. So we worked on vintage guitars, and we had the best. Oh, we had amazing instruments we got to work on all the time. Just last night, we went to a show, and I was talking to Andy Reiss, who's just a gift to all of us, his guitar playing. And his jazz licks are so amazing. But Harold Bradley came up. He was playing an archtop. I didn't know what it was. And I mentioned, I said, I've only heard one archtop even close to that. And it was Harold Bradley's Stromberg. And so that brought up fond memories, and we got to talk about that. And it turns out Andy and Harold were very close, which makes sense. So what does Nashville mean to me? It means everything to me. I've seen the city grow. I've seen it mature. Our music has gone from just straight up country to incredible rock and roll. We've got Americana is in my heart. And now we've got this vibrant black music scene. We've got all kinds of stuff. It's just incredible. Rock and roll again, and you know, where I live, more and more people are moving in, and it's just great. It's just a great town, and the music is wonderful, and the people are beautiful. I guess that's what Nashville means. My family's here, so that's it. I love this city. It's the best. Sorry to all the other cities. We're from Buffalo. That's pretty special to me too. But Nashville is home, and amazing. And I was told to tell everyone what my favorite song is. It reminds me of Nashville. And it's wonderful. I'm sitting here with Doug Yeoman, who had mentioned 3 chords and the truth, and I got to go with that. That was Harlan Howard's simple statement about Nashville and songs, and we all know Harlan was, oh my God, what a songwriter. And he summed up country music as 3 chords and the truth. I think that's my favorite song. So that's it. Thank you.